Welcome, Horror Fam, to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Duff, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Jess and Jonathan. What's going on, guys?
Hey.
We're excited.
Yeah, it's been a minute for both of us, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
All
Hey,
right.
we're back. Mike is not back because the contents of this episode really do not apply to him, so we didn't want to waste his time. But he'll be back next week, I'm sure. Actually, we won't be back next week. We'll talk about that later. Anyways, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365, or TikTok at HHN365pod. Join our Discord where you can talk all about Horror Nights and some of the other haunts we're going to discuss today as well. That link is in the description. Check out our merch shop at hhn365.com. And if you want to leave a voicemail to join us here on the show, that would be 407-906-4134. And on today's show, we're going to go over our West Coast hype list. So that's going to be HHN Hollywood, Knott. We're going to go over houses / mazes, zones, shows, and then see what we're feeling. Because we are all going to be there. Well, the three of us are going to be there next week. Hence why Mike's not going to be on the episode. He's not going to be there. And why we'll not have an episode next week. So, yeah, sorry about that. But we'll be having fun. But before we get into that, instead of going through any like news or anything, just want to do a quick take on Orlando and our updated house rankings, as we have to do every week. Just a reminder that you can check out all of the walkthroughs of all 10 of these houses on our YouTube channel. We have some pretty decent quality ones, I'd say. No bias. Okay, a lot of bias. But go check them out at HHN365 on YouTube. But let's do it. Let's talk about our updated HHN 33 house rankings. I don't know about you guys, but I have had a lot of change since especially me, I haven't talked about it on the show since after week 1.
Same. Yeah. A lot has changed. Some of it has not changed. Well, we'll get to that.
I have something holding steady. I'll say that much.
Ooh.
Who wants to kick us off with their number 10?
Ooh. I guess I'll start because my list is less crazy because I did it for the week 2. So there's not as big of shifts as I'm sure you guys are going to have. But my 10, I think, is the biggest shift. And that is, usually it was A Quiet Place for number 10. That is now changed. It is now Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines going down 2 spots from number 8. And yeah, the only reason it went down is I think the story and the way it's told and a lot of the holes in the house have just, it's the one house this year that I feel like sometimes I can kind of skip, and I don't feel like that with A Quiet Place. And I think it's that part of it, plus the story and the issues I've already had that I don't need to go over again, that just made me go, yeah, it's probably, if this is the one that I'm okay with skipping every night, it's probably 10.
I understand your reasonings, but it is not my 10, because my 10 fell from, I believe, number 6 opening weekend.
Oh, wow.
It is Triplets of Terror.
Wow.
Oh.
I am reaching the point with this house where I think we all came out of opening weekend like this is a like strong event in the sense that like all the houses have some pretty good strengths and they're all good. I think this house might be below good. It's not bad, but I think it's kind of getting on that mediocre to poor level. Like I'm actually not enjoying most of my runs at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. For similar reasons to Bloodlines, I don't like how they tell the story. I think it's a kind of fun concept, and the way they approached it, just I'm not a fan, and it's too repetitive.
I think that's fair. I felt that repetitiveness when I went through it like 4 times, like in a row one night.
Oh,
yeah,
Oh.
I felt that. That did affect it on my rankings too.
Now that's my ultimate kill count.
Oh, no. Okay, so I can't piggyback off of either of you guys, but this was my number 10 on week 1 ranking, and it's still A Quiet Place. And it's not that it's a bad house. It's not that it's not scary. I think it's beautiful. I've only had 3 runs through it though, because this is like consistently the longest wait with Insidious.
Yeah,
I've gotten lucky with Insidious. So, and I've also kind of prioritized it, but we'll get to that later. So this is not a negative to anybody in the house. It's probably going to be Hollywood as well. Just kind of the nature of the house, I think, for me.
Well, in that case, now to kick us off with our 9s, I can piggyback because it's my number 9. A Quiet Place, I think, to be honest, I think it's executed well. I think they really represent what the property is. I think there's some really fun scenes. Um, I love puppet based houses. Not every single one, but there's a lot of well done ones that I love. It gets to be too much in this one. Like, I want to see more active actors. Well, people, honestly.
Hmm.
It just feels too stale with how much they rely on the puppets and like how slow some of these puppets look. So yeah, again, I think it is good. I think they did a good job. It's just a lot weaker than, well, it's close to number 8, but it's a lot weaker than most of the event.
All right. I have some stuff to say about that house too, but not quite yet because my number 9 is staying the same from week 2, and that is Monstros. Uh, I just don't. I don't know. I don't have to say much. It's this. It's in the same place, but I just don't love a lot of the choices they made with this house. I still think it's good, but after seeing Hollywood's, it's kind of just like a house that is similar enough to me to Hollywood's that it's just not going to be high on a ranking because it just feels like something I've already done with a little bit of tweaks, some of the tweaks that I don't particularly enjoy. So yeah, that's at 9 for me.
My number 9 also did not change from week 1. It is still museum. And this is just not hitting for me. And it's not in like the way that I've seen people say, oh, we want a night at the museum. It's just not hitting it in the way that I'm not like a fan of the rotting stone vibe, I think. It's just that like last third of the house, I kind of check out. I'm not really into it. I don't think it's hitting the way that it was intended for me. And then when I compare it to like houses that have been in that location before, like Descendants and Puppet Theater, it's like, ooh, I would kind of pick any of those like again over this, I think, this year.
Mm-hmm. Think that's a fair placement.
Sorry,
Right.
museum fans.
Fair, fair. Well, I'll hop into my number 8 because I'm gonna go right back to Monstros with you, Jonathan. Um, it's I don't know how much of it is a factor of being too similar to what I saw in Hollywood, so dragging it down a bit. Because I do think there's some good sets in here. I think nothing of a crazy scale, but the set design looks nice. I think character designs leave a bit to be desired. They got the sense going, which is nice, but like it's just kind of one of those houses where I'm like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Would I like it a bit more if I didn't see it at all the previous year? Maybe, not sure, but it's at number 8.
I think that has affected it on a lot of people's rankings, though, who haven't seen Hollywood's. Because I see
Mm,
this going really high in a lot of people's rankings, this particular house. And part of me is like,
yeah,
man, maybe going to Hollywood really did affect it for us.
it's very
Hmm.
possible, and I'm sure it at least plays a part. It has to.
Yeah, for sure. But my number 8 is a climber. It's A Quiet Place, which moved 2 spots from number 10. And I do think this is the highest it's going to be all season, though it could rise more. I'm not sure. And it's only because I really got some great runs with my brother not this past weekend, but a little bit a while ago. He got wrecked completely, and it was really fun to watch. And I got to actually pay attention more to the puppets and seeing the way they're learning how to move the heads a little bit and make them more realistic. They're not like perfect, but I saw a lot more improvement in the way they're actually moving the puppets than I did with week 1. And I think that right now is keeping it at 8, but it could drop. It could get a little bit higher. I'm not sure. I still think it will be around this range, but I am happy I saw a little bit improvement with this house. So that's why it's at 8.
I think that's fair. I think if I get more runs through it, it could maybe move. But for me, one that was very, very high in my hype, and then I think it was 5 in week 1, has fallen to 8, and it is Eternal Bloodlines.
Oh,
And that's what it is, and I'm sorry. I don't think it's hitting like any Monster House has since 29. So I don't want to beat on it because like it's not this character's fault. I just think that it's missing a big, like, large scale scene. Its biggest scene is like the facade, I would say.
Mhm.
And then for me, a big issue is I've seen a big spoiler in Hollywood, but the like handling of a big plot point that you miss. Like, we've done it on the spoiler episode. I don't know if we're like kind of spoilers balls to the wall at this point, but whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. In Hollywood is handled completely differently. And from what I've seen, I like that better.
Oh,
And it was
okay.
spoiled for me, unfortunately.
It was
But
not spoiled for me. Don't say it.
I'm not. That's why I'm also like kind of like walking around it right now without like saying it. Um but yeah, this house is just kind of a big disappointment. It doesn't have a big scene like a Quasimodo last year or like the facade from last year. It's just missing that wow factor, and the story is very convoluted.
Hmm.
Like, we move a little too fast. So
Very
it,
understandable.
it
I get it.
sucks. I wanted to campaign for this, but here we are. But we got a couple more weeks. We'll see.
Mhm.
I agree with basically everything you said, but moving to the 7, I'm still not at Bloodlines yet,
That's
but I
crazy.
am at a pretty impressive one. This jumped from number 10 from my initial rankings, and that's Ghostbusters.
Let's go.
My biggest issue was basically like I can see the sets, I see effects. I think there's a lot of potential fun there. I'm not having good runs. I'm not getting that fun factor kicking in, right? And since then, I want to say like late week 2, maybe even a week 3, like just keep getting good runs. I went from like never seeing Garakas in the house to they're always there. The effects are always timed up perfect. I think that one the lab escape scene, if you will, is like really kicking into high gear, and they're getting their timing right there as well. So you kind of have this fun house with a couple rooms that also provide some really decent, scary settings and scares themselves. So yeah, it definitely is kind of like a lower mid tier house for me. I don't know if it has much more room to jump. Maybe a couple houses that'll get too soon could drop a bit more and give it a chance to move up one. But we'll see. But I think it being at 7 is already a huge win for that house because I thought it was at 10 and it was stuck in the 9-10 range for the season. And now it's all the way at 7. So congrats.
I am shocked it went that high for you. I'm very happy.
Yeah, me too.
And was that also partially? I know there was, we didn't have a news segment of this episode, but there was a big change for this house that I think was one of the biggest changes all season, and that's how they handled Slimer. And you
Hmm.
said that the new way they have it, which is instead of an actor, it's a puppet now. You said you prefer that version.
So that has nothing to do with this ranking. I actually already had it at 7 before they made that change this weekend. Like this would have
Mhm.
been my week 3 ranking. I would have had it at 7. So, but yeah, so, since we're already talking about it, they did change that Slimer from a person wearing a Slimer suit basically to just a puppet Slimer. And while the movement is a bit more restricted, I will say it feels more real um, because you could always kind of see the human torso under Slimer, and that always kind of like takes you out of it when you really see who's operating it. But now it literally just looks like Slimer's there, less movement, which is kind of a bummer, but it fits better, and it just a bit more immersive than having the human behind it.
Hell yeah! I cannot wait to see it this weekend and to see what I think.
You're probably gonna think the exact opposite.
Probably, but I still know there's a guy behind there. I'm sure Slimer can wave and be like, "Oh, hello." Um,
Yes.
yeah, hell yeah, I'm excited for that. Um, my number 7 is triplets. It dropped one space from number 6, and I'm kind of worried this is gonna fall farther the longer we get into the event. I'm still liking it. I don't think it's bad or anything. I think it has a lot of good ideas. I just think the ideas it has aren't necessarily executed very well, like as well as they could have been. And once again, I am still kind of upset that the design that everyone was saying, before this house came out, all the designers, everyone, the creative team was like, we usually have IPs as slashers, but now we're having an original slasher for the first time in a while. So we're going to go crazy with it. We're HHN. We can make such inventive things. And I think most IPs are more inventive than what this house actually ended up being. And that is a big gripe I have with it. So it's number 7 for now.
I hear you. I don't think anything you're saying is wrong. But I'm gonna rain on some parades right now. My number 7 is goblins.
Oh, I get it
Wow.
though. I do.
I just am not. I told you guys before we started recording, it's my like Hill House of the year where I never had a good run through Hill House. I've
Mhm.
had 0 good runs through this house, but it's above other things that I have had good runs through. So I think
Hey.
that's a positive. But the scenic alone, I think, is why I did finally see like the big like statue scene. I did not
Hmm.
see that until this week,
Oh, it
which
took
is
me a few runs to catch that too.
great. It's like, why is it not lit better? I don't. It kind of bothers me, but yeah, it's just it also I think it's a little too short.
I think, yeah, it feels like there could be some added length in there. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe not like actually there could not be. I'm not sure, but
I don't
like
know.
just from a normal house walkthrough, it feels like a house like that. I could use just a bit more. Give me another room,
Yeah,
something.
Hmm.
the last act is very fast.
Yes, I think that's probably it. It's probably the timing of how quick that final act just kind of get through, get through, get through, done.
Yeah, and that's a big negative for me. It kind of takes me out every time.
Hmm.
So
I
yeah,
think that's fair.
All right. Well, I guess I'll hop into my number 6 so I can finally join you. It's going to be Eternal Bloodlines.
okay.
Um, I think for me, kind of the same reason you're still able to hold goblins at 7. I think I really just enjoy the sets and the design in general. So it works. Like it's enough to kind of keep it up here. And its characters I really enjoy interacting with. So not personally interacting with, but you know what I mean. I think there are a lot of issues. I think for some reason they decided that like there's 8 scares that have to have the slowest cycles possible. Like their reset time is insanely slow so frequently, and you're like, not great. Obviously, the story, unless you get a perfect run, it's you're not going to catch it. You already have to know it to pick up if you don't get the perfect run. And I feel like they just kind of, again, like goblins, they kind of rush through what should be the climax, and then almost drag out the finale a bit too much
Hmm.
for what it is. Right? Like it feels like after you hit the climax, it just slows down so much. So obviously we do spoilers now. Saskia's death should have been a bigger moment, and I think from there it could have dragged on further, and then you get a much shorter finale, or we get a similar kind of Saskia death, which I wouldn't prefer, but then give us a bigger finale, right? But instead, we got kind of underwhelming Saskia death and then very underwhelming finale as well.
Yeah, they didn't hit either part, unfortunately.
Mm-mm.
Uh,
But again, this is one kind of everything here in the bottom except Ghostbusters feels like it can go down further. I mean, if I could move triplets further, I might, but I can't. Um, so yeah, after this, I think it's going to be a lot of things that I expect to maybe have upward trajectories.
all right. My number 6 is it actually rose up a spot and it could keep rising or go down depending. I think it depends on runs with this house, but it's museum. I got some, I'm not going to say great runs, but I have been getting some runs where I've been getting some scares. And I think I am just sort of liking the vibe a little bit more. It also helps, and it always helps every single year when there's a house that's like almost consistently a walk on. Like no matter what time it is, I feel like this one and Monstrose, but this one in particular, you usually can like once it hurts a certain time, it's 0 minutes. Like you're just walking right in. And I think that helps a lot. I'm liking that the ending now has like some big creatures that can scare you if they run at you, they can get some good scares. It doesn't always happen, but it sometimes does. I think this house still has potential to grow, and I really want it to, and I'm hoping it will throughout the rest of the season.
I've been calling those big creatures the reused bloater costumes because they definitely are.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
also confirmed by unmasking the horror.
Oh,
By
I
the
didn't
way,
know that. Okay,
yes,
good to know that. It's like my eye's not wrong.
yeah, it's definitely just the same base, and they reworked off it.
Yeah, regurgitated. Even my friend was like, yeah, definitely.
Got war flashbacks, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh no, literally. But yeah. So my number 6 is gonna be Triplets of Terror. I'm still really vibing with this. I think it fell a little bit from my first week. Let me see. No, actually, it went up one. Haha, look at
Oh.
that. It got even better. But I really like slashers. I have not had any like bad runs really, and most of the boot holes have been pretty consistently filled, which is not the case for most of the houses this year. So
Hmm.
I'm always gonna like a slasher, and I like that they tried something.
They did try. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They did.
I know that it's not for everybody, but the other half of that dog, boy, do I see it now. I can't miss it. Both halves are there if you're really looking.
All right, so I'll go to my number 5 then, and I'm gonna now talk about museum. It's funny because during hype, the talk was this for me is a house that could be like an absolute all timer based off the concept, or it feels like something that could flop so hard that I will be mad about it. It's neither of those. It's very much in the middle. I think the setting is something I naturally enjoy, so that helps. Um, I think I enjoy the way the story is told, and I actually like the design of kind of the growth in the creatures. Um, I do wish there were more kind of show elements. I think there's still some disappointing rooms as well that they could have done a lot more with. Um, but it has enough going on to kind of keep it like right around, I mean, dead center of my rankings, and I expect it to stay right about here. Maybe getting into the top 4 possibly, but otherwise, yeah, it's kind of just a very middle of the road house.
All right. This house changed from week 1, but did not change from week 2, and that is Slaughter Cinema 2. Oh, sorry. No, hold on. No, it isn't. But number 5 is Insidious. It's Insidious. I was looking at the wrong thing. No, it's Insidious. I I really want this to go higher, and I'm really trying. I'm giving it a lot of runs. I go in this house a lot when I go to just be like, can I get that perfect run where I understand where everyone? I mean, I do understand why everyone's saying it's scary. I've seen people get the shit scared out of them. I've just I'm cursed. Like, you were Jess with I know Chupacabra and goblins. Like this is my curse with Insidious that I'll go in and I won't get a good run. Like for me personally, everyone else in front of me and behind me will get a fantastic run, and I'll just be like, yeah, Insidious. But the reason it's still at 5 is that I see so much potential, and I'm just, I hope every time I walk in that house to be like, this is it. This is gonna be the run. This is when it's gonna happen. It just isn't there yet because I'm cursed with this house, unfortunately.
You got to do a run with me. I've been told that I scare people more in that house than the house does. I'm so fucking jumpy in that one. Like I'm desensitized to like most of them at this point. This far into the run, but not Insidious. It's
Yeah.
scary. But I'm not ready to talk about that. So I am ready to talk about my number 5 is Ghostbusters.
Look at
Uh
that.
it rose again. This was 6 in week 1. So, a lot of stuff kind of shifted up. I'm still really loving this house. It's still something that like if it's under like an hour and it normally is, I'm going through it.
Oh,
And I have a great time. I'm
oh,
not
like
going to lie.
it'll always get you to wait and
Yeah.
everything. Oh, damn.
Yeah, I'll wait and I'm like I've been doing really good on like keeping track of stuff this year. I could tell you how many times I've been through it.
Ooh,
I have been through Ghostbusters. It's a low number, but I don't have Express 7 times.
okay,
And
Wow.
okay.
my most run house is 10 with suites. So like I'm doing Ghostbusters a lot compared to some other houses. So I'm still really vibing with it. And I think that the Slimer change, it elevated it for me because I really fucking hate that costume. It's so bad.
That's awesome. I love to see the Ghostbusters love.
I still haven't seen the movie though, and I probably won't.
So you have it at 5. I have it at 7. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Pretty big deal.
A house like this succeeded when people who did not want this to be a house, including
Yeah.
me, have it this high on their rankings.
Yeah. Oh
Absolutely.
yeah. So I will move into my number 4, and I'm gonna say the 2 through 4 is almost just a coin toss for me at this point. For the past few weeks, it's been these 3 in those positions, and it, like I could change my mind in 3 minutes. I don't know. Like it's a toss up. So uh, 2 to 4, don't worry too much about the spot. I think these are all very good and could all be number 2 easily. But I think right now in my mind, I'm going to put number 4, Slaughter Cinema 2. I still do think it has that essence of Slaughter Cinema. I think it's a lot of fun. Um, it's not as good as the original. I think there's a couple rooms that miss the mark a bit. And I think just compared to the other two, why I put this at 4 right now is it seems more prone to a weak run than the others.
Mhm.
So for now, I'm going to go Slaughter Cinema at 4.
Yeah, there are some rooms that are very timing dependent, and
Mm-hmm.
if you get in there at the wrong time, you're seeing nothing,
Yep.
really, or just like the ending of a certain sequence. Um, but actually, my number 4 is Slaughter Cinema 2 as well.
Oh, look at that.
This is this house stayed the same from week 2. I'm still really liking it. There are weaker rooms. Some of the rooms are weaker than the original. But the rooms that I really like. And this is one that I think I've gotten one of my biggest scares consistently. It's that last scare in Heavy Metal Hell. I don't remember like what cast it particularly was, but there's this one actor in there that like walks out of their boo hole to scare the shit out of me. Like, and it happens every single time I go through, and I'm like, God damn, like it's an intense scare. So yeah, I'm liking this house. It's at
Hmm.
4.
I should mention, I forgot. I did do one run with 3D glasses now. And
Ooh.
Oh.
um I know a lot of people are saying it's like such a big difference. It just makes the room a bit disorienting.
Hmm.
Like the depth perception in the room's like fully gone. And like that
Mm-hmm.
might be cool, but like I literally thought I was gonna walk into that like last boo hole on the right instead of walking through the meat curtains because I really couldn't tell. I think the bedroom kind of has a cool little effect to play with as you're walking into the main room.
Hmm.
But the room itself, like the main room, where you'd expect it to be the coolest, uh, it made it different. I don't know if it made it better.
Okay. I'm gonna try tomorrow. I have a pair finally.
Give it a shot.
Yeah, we'll see. I wish that there was an actor in that first room. That closet looks like it needs to have something in
Oh,
there.
that would be great.
Yeah. All right. Well,
It's like the
my
mom
number
or something. Like I was like, oh no,
something.
or
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, because I just noticed like the record playing backwards and all that shit, like that are part of the story. I
Hmm.
just realized it. Like, I think, well, honestly, what last night?
Oh wow.
Probably. Well, again, I'm not here to talk about that yet, though. My number 4, which this one did fall. This was my number 3 in week 1, is Monstros. And
Okay.
that's not a negative. I still really love the house, and I'm not having the like Hollywood fatigue of it because I also really love the Hollywood one. I think that ours is just better. But I had the pleasure of witnessing one of my friends get the biggest scare of I think their life that I've ever seen. With the muerte at the end, the stilt walker.
Hmm.
He was literally crouching in front of the curtain, and they opened the curtain and did a U-turn like immediately. Went back into the house, and my fight or flight kicked in, and I was like, "Well, my friend is running. I need to run." So I just turned around as well. Like I had no thought. I just went. But I just really think that this house is killing it. And they're always like on all cylinders.
That La Muerte has to be like a top 3 most intense stinger ever. I've never,
Yeah.
not never, it's very rare you see a stinger go that hard,
Oh my
especially
god.
one that's like, they used to be outside of like sprung tents, had a little bit more space. Like that's a pretty tight space, and
Hmm.
he's getting a little risky on those stilts there.
Yeah.
I like it.
Hmm.
All right, so I guess I'll move on to my number 3. Uh, and I think I'm going to slot Major Sweets Candy Factory into 3. It's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's I think it still holds a nice scare factor. It's gory. Um, I think Mike has a great point when he compares it to something like Saws and Steam, um, but like the Willy Wonka version of it. It's just like it feels like older HHN in a way, and not in like a gatekeepy kind of way, but like they executed something that's like almost nostalgic at this point because you really don't get houses of this exact style anymore. So it's just good. It feels like a HHN house to me in the best way possible.
That's great. It's always good when HHN houses feel like an HHN
Yeah,
house.
it's important. It does not feel like a Hello Scream house or something.
That's
A Fright Fest house.
oh god.
Duff is giving very it's a movie that feels like a movie.
Hey, listen, that's a point. That's a valid point.
You're
It
in your
is.
Harry Styles era.
I do get what you're saying. It is actually the valid point. It does
Yeah.
feel like classic,
Feels
horror
like-
nights. Yeah.
Yeah, like the HHN Renaissance almost, like that kind of an era.
All right, so I'll move on to my number 3. I'm gonna be honest, my top 3, 1, 2, and 3 switch every time I go. So it just depends on the runs I get and just the experiences I have. By the final week, I have no idea what's actually gonna end up here because they're all like really, really good. But my number 3 for this week is Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Always have a good time, always have a lot of fun, and it's scary. I thought I've gotten some of, well, not going to say the whole thing's scary, but there's particular moments that can scare the shit out of me. The Garakas are really intense and can get me a lot of the time. And that particular room, like Duff was saying, after you enter the containment unit, like sort of containment chamber or whatever, when it gets dark and has all the ghosts there, I have gotten double teamed, and then the final library ghosts run me out of the room multiple times. It's some of the most fun I've had all season in that one room. And every time I go through the house, I notice even more details, even more Stay Puffs, effects, things that they didn't need to be there, but they was there just to add a little bit of immersiveness in the experience. It's really high for me. I'm really surprised. I'm happy about this one. So it's number 3 for now.
That hallway of scares. The only, I think one of the only house runs I have with Dove this season, some woman like grabbed me in there and he's like turning around going, I got the scares. And I'm like having my own moment. So I can't hear about that without thinking about it.
That definitely happened.
It was, I was so happy for him, but also I was not having a great time. But my number 3 actually was my number 1 in week 1. So it's Slaughter Cinema. And this is, again, it's not like a negative. There's just 2 houses that are kind of rocking better than this one right now. And I kind of agree with you guys. There's a lot of movies that I think really stand up to the first one. Like I really love the Mummy Strippers. I actually think that the male presenting stripper is the better cast. I won't lie. He was like dropping it down low the other day and doing the splits. Like, homie was feeling his oats, and I was so happy for him. But I think that this house is just really fun. And yeah, I think that it's got a lot going for it. It could maybe go back to 1, but my 1 and 2 are really, really great this year for me. So that's why this one's 3 now.
All right. Well, with that, I will move to my number 2, and that's going to be Goblin's Feast. So very
Let's
much
go.
a Ghostbuster style rise. Where when we talked about it after opening weekend, it was like, I get it, I see the things and why people are high on these, but I just haven't had that run and that experience, and I'm getting that in Goblins now. It's so much fun, but while I don't know. I don't even know how to like describe it. It's not the scares aren't necessarily there. I think there's a few spots where maybe, but it just there's always a scare actor. Like you're always by a scare actor. It feels so interactive. And I feel like that's kind of a missing element in many houses. And you forget how important that can be until you experience a house like that. Um, it just really helps build the atmosphere. When to go along with great scenic and sound design, you have the scare actors there with them at basically every turn. Um, and I just think like the characters, their triggers, their designs, like they create that fun environment. I will remind you though, like my 2, 3, 4 really could switch at any time. So take that how you will. But for this to jump, I think it was at like 6. So it made it to now number 2. So nice big jump over the past few weeks for it.
Hell yeah. Love to hear that for Goblins. But I can't talk about that house yet because my number 2, is Sweets, Major Sweets Candy Factory. This went up 1 from week 2. just swapping with Ghostbusters. And a lot of it's because I don't know. I've learned a trick that like starting at like 1:30, probably even earlier, this house has no wait, and you could just marathon this thing, and it's relatively easy, especially when they stop having you go all the way around and they take one of the switchbacks out. And I just have so many good runs when I do that. It is just it's some of the most fun I've had at this event. Just do it over and over and over again. Like you get so many great scares, interactions, and usually when you do that, like after like the second time, you're kind of like, oh, okay, I got it. I don't need to do this again. But it's one of those houses that it doesn't like doing it multiple times doesn't hurt my experience. It's not like, oh man, I overdid this house. Like, I don't know. I always have there's always a fun vibe, always some not really good scares, but great interactions. And you notice new things every single time you go in because it's just packed to the brim with stuff and details. This is just going to be, I think this might be S tier for me by the end of the year. I really, really love this house.
Well, it's also my number 2. So
Yeah.
I also really, really, really love this house. I agree with Mike. Not that I really got to see any old style HHN houses in person, but it just gives that like aura, and it gives the Halloween presence at the event that we need, like the classic Halloween. Um, it's so fun, and like not in like a goblins like campy way it is, but it's different, like in like a grimy kind of a way. And that is like always going to be something I'm into. And like you, I never not have a good time in this house. It's not really scary, but it just gives spooky enough, and you're kind of in danger because you're stuck in these like traps almost as you're going through the factory. But I finally am like slowing down and like looking at things, and I kind of got stuck in like the loading dock scene last night. And like if you're standing there for a second, it's kind of vibrating like from an engine.
Oh my
And there's
God.
just like really cool details. Yeah. There's really cool details in there that like slow down if you can next time. Don't stop like operations. But this house has a lot to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like something I'm always gonna hold really, really highly.
I love that.
I think that means every person on this podcast has it at least in their top 3. That's pretty impressive.
For
It
a
is
Fast and
definitely.
Furious house, especially, they proved us all wrong.
Yeah, they did.
It's
Maybe it's that new setup.
It's got to be. It's the turning of the tent, I think, really.
Mm.
It's all in one place. It feels cohesive now.
Or just not building a bad house, maybe.
I mean, that also plays a part in it.
Maybe just no more Blum.
Yeah. So I'll hop to my number 1, and this has fully jumped to a tier of its own for me, where it feels like to not finish the season at number 1, it's going to have to mess up somehow, and I don't think it will because it, to me, has the most consistent cast, and that's Insidious. The Further, since day one, like the cast, going back to them, so intense. Feels like they've been doing it for like years, and like day one, they're already firing on all cylinders, and that has not let up at all. It's one of those houses where I've had multiple people describe it as kind of like disorienting in a way, that it makes you feel like you are in the Further. So you almost feel like you're lost and floating through these scenes. And I get that. Like, do I get legit scares in this house? Not yet. I think it's possible. I can get caught off guard. I might know a little too much at this point. But I feel their intensity to a level that I have not in a long, long time. I legitimately think this is the scariest house they've made in probably pushing a decade at this point, to be completely honest. And then I think that's accompanied by great pacing, the scare design, like how they set up the way you walk into a room, and I think really the freedom they give the scare actors with them having so many multiple boo hole situations. It just really works. The sets, like, kind of overlooked for what the house is, but they're exactly what they need to be, and in some moments even still like pretty damn impressive. It's a house that like I don't think will go down as an all-timer, but it might come pretty close at the end, because it's just like great every run. Like I can have a run that like normally be like, yeah, that was fine. Still a great run of that house regardless.
Yeah, it's also my number 1, so I'm gonna piggyback. Everything you said, but like I am getting wrecked every single time I go in this house. And normally, like I said, by this time, I am desensitized to all of them, if not all of them, maybe like most of them. No, this year, like I still cannot get through the like curtain area with the red faced demon without like clutching onto somebody. This house is fucking scary. I was saying that Scarecrow was still scarier than this in week one. That is not the case anymore. This is the
Whoa.
scariest house I've been through, 100%. And I will like stand on that. And they're still getting me like to a point where I know I can't run this alone, probably ever this year. And there's a point where I can run any house alone. But like kudos to all of them. I agree with you, Duff, that like floating kind of metaphor is perfect for this. Cause you don't really need to like go, well, where am I in the like timeline of the franchise? It doesn't matter. You're in the further, all of these people exist there. Like you hear Elisa's voice sometimes, you hear you whoever. It doesn't matter that they're all together. They're fucking killing it, and they don't care where their boo holes are. Like they're gonna get in your face, they're gonna cross over, they're not scaring forward, they're just scaring.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, it feels like we're like 20 years ago when you would hear about them doing shit like this in houses. It's fucking scary.
I mean, when's the last time you'd walk out of a house and every time, or walk by it when you're going in, and like people are coming out of the house and immediately just like sitting on the ground,
Yeah.
laughing,
Gasping.
screaming, crying, whatever their reaction is, they're like on the ground. Like like every time you walk by it.
I've
It's
seen
insane.
medics out there with oxygen multiple times.
And
Like,
I think
serious.
that's only hyping the cast up more to know that's what they're doing. So
Yeah.
I expect this to still somehow keep getting better.
And the hype is there. Like, even last night on a very slow night, it was 75 minutes.
Oh, the word's out. The word
It's
is definitely
crazy.
out.
I hope I get some more runs in this before I can't anymore. I want to be wrecked. It's a fun way. And I always get puked on.
Oh yeah. I mean,
So
it
much
comes
puke.
fast. It tries to get everyone, I think.
Constant. Oh my God. And I can't even say the bride is the scariest anymore. I think Keyface has like come out of nowhere. He
Okay,
is
yeah,
like,
I could see
ooh.
that.
He crossed over in that like finale scene from one side to the other and then like pretty much like pushed us backwards.
Ooh.
And I was like, I'm done. I gotta go.
They're getting super aggressive in that finale scene, like stepping out on the walkways fully,
Yeah.
like without hitting their triggers or anything, too. Like it's pretty great.
All right, Jonathan, we'll let you talk now. Sorry.
I want to have a great run of Insidious too.
We need to go together. You guys, I need to go sandwich between you two so I can scare both of you in the house.
It'd be perfect.
I'm scared of what you're gonna do to scare me.
I don't know. I don't remember my runs through half this house.
But my number one is my opinion in the house that I think I've gotten the most scares in, which is surprising because we sort of written this one off as not super scary. But that's Goblin's Feast. This house, I have had runs where almost every goblin scares the shit out of me. And it might be because I'm just scared of like the bigger costumes, like the bigger people, that are like the leather faces, those type of builds or whatever. So like when those big, like I think they're orcs or that's what they're called, I don't know, like come at me, I'm done. Like I'm running. And they actually like step out of their boo hole. They can like really get that scare if they need to. And that final scene, not the final scene, but like the sort of the cave area where there's like the triple scare, they know how to work together so well that they can just like one person like puts their prop out a little, like they're not trying to scare you, just trying to like move you to the right, so you move to the right, then the other guy gets you and the one on the left comes back for you. And, like the pinball is absolutely insane when you hit it the right time. Usually like when it's like an empty run and you get that special run where no one's in front of you, it can get intense in there. So yeah, that and the fact that I think it's a house that has huge sets. We're not Dead Man's Pier level, but it is, I think, like maybe some of the biggest sets this year. Yet they make it feel like it's a real place, like not just in terms of sets, but in terms of actors and people living there. Actors work with each other. There's a lot of like scenes, a lot of like just people goblins going their daily lives and doing what they do on the goblins feast. Some I saw one time where one of the goblins like hit the bell for like dinner or whatever. Like the interactivity and the storytelling going on here makes the big sets just like that's not even the highlight. The highlight is watching the actors work in these big sets, which is really, really fun and something that I really appreciate. So yeah, Goblins number 1 for now.
Well, there it is. Our updated rankings for week 4 of HHN 33. And guess what? We still have 4 more rankings to talk about this episode. 2
Yeah.
of them are much shorter, but then there's 2 about the same size. So we should probably just hop right into that. Again, West Coast hype lists. So we're doing HHN and we're doing Not Scary Farm. And I think let's keep it where we were and stick with our HHN brand. And I think we'll start out with the easiest of those lists, which would be the shows, which there are 2 of. So who wants to kick us off with their least hyped show, I guess?
I'll go. It's the Chucky one because I'm probably not going to see it.
All right.
Oops. Sorry. It's nothing against it.
Well,
I just don't want to wait.
I'll be seeing it.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's something unique enough, so
we'll see. I don't know. I saw a video of it and it looks so cheesy.
I did not see a video.
Extra corny.
I've seen a still, so
okay.
A slight spoiler.
We'll see how many drinks I've had.
It's fair.
I'm sure drinks could help with that show. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's so hard to get drunk there, though. So hard.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess I'll go with my number 2, and it's actually going to be Dangerous Waters because it was there last year. That's the only reason. I thought it was a lot of fun, but it's the same show as last year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to jump right, what you said. Number 2 is Purge for me for both of the reasons. One, it's basically the same show. I know there are like some updates people have said, but I haven't heard anything about like the story changing. Just like, yeah, they made it a little tighter. It's a little better. And it's like, okay. But the second reason for what Jess said is I'm probably not seeing this. It's probably when we get to that part of the RIP tour, I'm really like, hey, had a great tour, and everything like that. But this is where I bounce because I don't need to see the show again. I'd rather hit houses for like the when you have the special RIP pass. So yeah, it's probably something I'm not going to see, but I'm sure that I think people are still really enjoying it, and that's good. I think it's a great show, especially for people who have never done it before.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's my number 1, the Purge show, but I'm also probably not going to see it. And I really liked it last year. Besides the social anxiety that I've spoken about because of the fucking Blinky Cups.
Yeah.
That alone I think would make me dive into the fucking lagoon. But yeah, it's just it's there. I'm glad that they've made it tighter, or hopefully kind of fixed whatever issues there were. I didn't think there were many, but if our group wants to see it, we have time, we'll see. But I would rather maybe run some houses more.
I would agree with that. And also, obviously, not my number 1 because mine is Late Night with Chucky because it's a new show. Look at that. Look how that works. I don't have much else to say about it yet.
Same for me, too. A, because it's a new show, and B, because I really like Chucky. And while I'm not expecting this to be very good, I think no matter what it is, I'm going to have a very fun time with it because the premise is so stupid that no matter how well jokes are executed or whatnot, I think I'm going to be sitting there giggling the entire time.
I don't know much about it, but I had it described to me as Monsters Inc. laugh floor.
With Chucky?
I'm like, okay. Interesting.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, there you go.
That's exactly what it is. Not to spoil it, but there's literally a QR code where you send questions in before.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll get thinking. I need to have jokes prepared.
Chucky, what happened with Orlando? What happened?
No. We're gonna use Jonathan's phrase. Corporate synergy is gonna make sure that he can't say anything fun.
Oh, I'm sure.
Which is mainly why I'm like kind of meh about it.
So let's get out of that and go right into our scare zones, which we'll probably try to get through quick as well. I guess I'll start us off with our number 4, and I went with Skull Lords just because it has the least interesting looking kind of aesthetic. I guess I mean, there's kind of two zones that are going to end up 3-4 regardless, and this just seemed less interesting, I guess. Although it'll probably be better than the other one just because sets, sort of.
It's also my number 4 for the same reason.
I thought we all were gonna have Chainsaw Punks at 4 because
You
that's what
don't
I
know me.
put.
Oh, I went a different direction. It
You
was all
don't know
about the
me.
aesthetic, Jonathan. It
Yes,
was all about
true.
because they're both gonna. I don't want to say suck. They're both not gonna be my favorite things. So I'm more hype about the one that can bring a cool aesthetic. Will
That's
it
true.
finish? It's my number 3, by the way. Um, will it finish 4? There's a very good chance, but it looks more interesting going into the event.
Mm-hmm.
Is it my turn to do 3?
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't know if you had anything to say, Jonathan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I mean, it's a chainsaw zone, and it's gonna have
Yeah.
nothing. So that's why it's 4 for me. Like,
Okay.
unless maybe they'll get the music right, and it, maybe that can help enough. But at the end of the day, this is the zone I'm gonna walk through the least, and it's the zone that has a bunch of chainsaws, and like I think it has one like set that has one little prop this year, which is more than it's ever had before. But yeah, it's the chainsaws.
Yeah. Well,
Understandable.
my number 3 is not the punks. It's actually crows.
Oh.
And it's not. It's mainly because it's pushed up against the Fast and Furious kind of wall area, and I just think that that's a weird choice. And we've seen the crows before. I think they're more fun when they're kind of scattered around the mixed zones up in the front. So I don't know how I'm gonna feel about them on their own. So that's kind of why they're 3 for me.
All right.
I'm actually gonna hop right in here because my number 3 is also crows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the thing is, a lot of it's because a lot of them are characters we've seen before. I love them, but we've seen them before, so it's going to be lower on hype. And also, it's basically what you said. It's the way, granted, we have not really seen it in person, so it might work when we go. Like, it might feel right. I'm not sure. But from everything we've seen from like when construction photos were happening, the area didn't really feel like a zone area. It just felt like, oh, we have these crow costumes. Probably let's just, stick them over here in this little area. It doesn't really, like, from construction, didn't really seem like a zone. It probably is, like, so when we go there, hopefully, like, we just feel like, oh, this does feel like a zone. But right now it's hard to get super hyped for it. But I hope to be surprised and it to go higher on the ranking when we actually go.
Well, my turn to piggyback because my number 2 is A Murder of Crows, which I put it at number 2 because it's a new location, and there's my hype in it, is that it's a new location for a scare zone that I get to see. And I do like the crow characters, to be fair, so seeing them in an official scare zone, even if it doesn't feel like it, maybe, it brings some level of hype to beat out the typical mediocre scare zones below it.
It's fair. My number 2 is it Chainsaw Punks? Punks?
Yes.
I just wrote one word. I literally put Lords, Crows, Punks. I could not tell you. And this is just literally what you said, Duff. Aesthetics. I really like the neon. I like the punk of it. I think it's going to be goofy though, because it's like Murdy does punk.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's what we should be calling it. Remember those like Punk Goes Crunk covers back in the day?
No.
This is Murdy Goes Punk.
No.
Yeah, I'm renaming it. Trademark Murdy Goes Punk. But I think I might vibe with it. So
I might have to make an album cover and put it on Twitter.
You're welcome. Wow, I made a meme.
I love it.
I did it. But yeah, that's why it's my number 2. I just really like the whole like neon, and I'm glad that something at some event this year goes with the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we at least have one thing that does.
One thing, and we get to see it.
But my number 2 is something you guys already said. It's Skull Lords, and it's not because I love the aesthetic or the costumes or anything like that. That I've seen. There have been, unfortunately, we're late in the event. Some spoilers are going to eventually happen. But it's just because it's in the zone location that feels like a zone. There's only 2 zones on here that I think will feel like actual scare zones. I'm hoping Crows does, but it's this one and another one, and that's the reason it's a 2, because it's in an area that can have a lot of props and kind of feel like a scare zone. So yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably the most sane take you could have because when I look at it, it'll probably finish number 2 on my actual rankings,
Mhm.
but I just can't have any hype about it either.
It's fair. It's not one that you look at and go like, "Yeah, Skull Lord." It's like, nah,
I will
could be
say,
good.
there is one that I can look at and go, oh, okay, yeah. And that's, of course, my number 1, Luchadores Monstros. It's a zone that has worked in the past, even though not always. And it's a fun ass concept. I'll say that much. I saw the props that they had put out from like pre-opening of the event. I haven't seen what they look like in show lighting or anything like that. It looks like it can be a lot of fun, and it looks like they've actually changed it up a bit this year instead of leaving it basically the same zone 3 years in a row. So that's nice. Yeah, it looks fine enough.
It looks fine enough. It's also my number 1, obviously, but zombie monsters,
shocker.
the wrestling, whatever the fuck, I was gonna be all over this like anything. Yeah, I think that this is probably the best zone Hollywood could do for me. Thanks, Murdy.
Just like ever.
I mean, yeah, this is like very much something that obviously wrestling kind of can't be mixed with like fake versions of the Universal monsters. I'm all over this.
It looks so good just from the
Yeah.
concept of it.
I'm gonna love it. Like I'm gonna eat this shit up.
I'm hoping it. I like this is my number 1 too. Because I actually am hoping this is not just like a good Hollywood zone, but just a good zone
Yeah.
in general. I think this is a case where like the props that we saw already look pretty good. It's in an area that works well. It dumps out right from a house, which helps a lot. Um, and I really think the actors can do a lot of the heavy lifting here because if they really play into their characters and their roles and stuff like that. I remember Murdy was talking about like interactions with them eventually, not like things that were planned, just things that happen with the actors. Cause it's wrestling, like it, I really think that their interactions and their just the way the actors are could elevate this from being not just a good Hollywood zone, but just a pretty good zone in general. So that's what I'm hoping for this. I think it has the possibility of reaching those highs.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to the fun stuff and go to the houses. We are including the Terror Tram in this ranking, so keep that in mind. So who wants to kick us off with their number 9?
Jonathan, you want to go first this time?
Sure. And I don't know if it'll be the same for anyone else. It might not. But my number 9 is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And
oh my.
That's
yeah,
not what I thought you were gonna say.
No.
yeah, and a lot of this, a lot of this came from what I've been hearing, and mostly because I think we were in line for Insidious, and Jonathan from the Hotline was there, who obviously experienced all of these houses, and obviously I don't know spoilers, but I was talking about this, and I think he was like, "Yeah, I was surprised how almost exactly similar like it was to yours," and I'm like, "Oh." Okay, and that immediately is gonna put it all the way at the bottom because I still think it's gonna be a great house. But if it's a situation sort of like The Weekend or the extra, or not, there's been other like pretty similar houses in the past, like Treatments or whatever. If it's a situation like that, just in hype wise, I am gonna put it lower. Like it's something that I'm not super excited for because I have a feeling I know exactly what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Who wants to take 9 next?
I mean, I can go. I can go. My 9 is what I thought yours was going to be, and it's the Terror Tram. And that's mainly just because I don't know. I think that this is going to be weird, and that's the best way I can put it. I have seen like a little bit of the kind of like I guess the opening ceremony part of it when you get off the tram, and that seems to be the best part from what I've heard. And like the whole like removal of the Wolfman thing, and now it's more Purge. Like it's just weird for me. And
Not anymore. They changed it again.
oh, what is it now?
It's I mean, it's not. It's just a compilation of Blumhouse
Oh,
people.
okay.
Yeah.
I,
So they.
I prefer that. I
Yeah.
think
It's so weird how they changed it like 3 times.
that's crazy. Whatever. It's just it's a weird thing that the setting I don't even think kind of helps it, even though it's always fun to kind of walk through those movie sets. But it's just something I'm gonna do and be like, all right, cool. Megan did some body rolls over by the War of the World set. That's about it. We'll make a
Yeah.
couple TikToks out of it. That's probably be the best part. No,
Well,
Larry.
oh,
Yeah.
Larry.
No, Larry.
Lawrence Larva.
I'll miss him.
I'm going to piggyback off you because mine is also the Terror Tram. It's a Blumhouse Terror Tram. I'm not going to be that excited for it. And I've been hitting the point where I'm like, can the Terror Tram go? Maybe I'd be okay with that. So yeah, it's my number 9 pretty safely. I'm more excited to see all the houses at this point.
See, it's not my number 9. It's actually my number 8 because of the new layout. I'm just interested to see how it goes and how it feels. And I am excited that the tram, for the first time since I've been going, uh, not counting the note part, is going to at least feel somewhat different. That we're gonna go a different path. There's gonna be different. The layout is new and everything like that. That excites me, and I think that's why it's at 8. And I have heard people going like there's 2 different camps. Some people saying kill it, kill the Terror Tram, let it go. But then other people going like, oh, wasn't expecting that to be good, but it was. So I don't know. I don't think I'll like this. This probably will end up being 9 at the end of the day. But the new layout intrigues me enough that it's what above the thing that I kind of know exactly what's probably gonna happen.
Makes
Wow.
sense. I understand the reasoning.
I'm really worried about how much John's opinion of Ghostbusters affected you.
It affected me a lot. Like, I'm gonna be honest. When we were talking about Ghostbusters and just hype, like before Orlando happened, I was like, maybe Hollywood has the better Ghostbusters, and now I'm like,
Mm.
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh,
We'll see.
Well,
wow.
you're not alone though, because I will tell you, a lot of my list is very influenced by not just John, but people in general. I've heard talk about like the non-spoiler opinions of the event and the houses. So there's things that normally would have been higher or lower that a lot of random movement that doesn't sound like a typical Duff hype list.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I have not really spoken to anyone or seen much. So I'm kind of grateful. Mine is not affected by anybody.
Hey,
Look
there
at
you go.
that.
So, and I did not get to see John when they were here.
Genuine Jess
So,
opinion.
yeah, look at this. No one's affected me. Just my own thoughts. I'm my own echo chamber of chaos. Speaking of that, my number 8 is A Quiet Place.
Hmm.
And this is also, I think, this was really affected. I'm speaking of my own thoughts because of the venue, because it's in the
Mm-hmm.
the Ube venue.
Ube.
I just don't know if that's going to give us enough scale for some of like the scale of the Death Angels. So I'm a little worried for that. I know that it's like a black box style thing, and they do have some kind of high ceilings in there, but I'm just worried. And then also kind of where ours is, it's riding 10 for me on week 4 or 5. So we'll see. I hope
Yeah.
it goes up, but it probably won't.
Yeah, it's hard to think if it's 10 for you in Orlando that Hollywood's gonna magically put it like all the way up.
Yeah, I have seen some pictures that Murdy was sharing the other day that are like beautiful of their puppets, and I'm like, oh, why do
Mhm.
ours look different?
Oops.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll carry into my number 8, and honestly, it's about Ghostbusters level effect for you, Jonathan.
Ooh.
Because I have Insidious at 8.
Oh.
I've not heard the best things about this from like anyone. Uh, Basically, like, yeah, you'll get your scares. That's about it. And I think I can find something I'm more excited about in each of these houses. To put this at the bottom of my houses. So yeah, number one on my current real list in Orlando, and dead last in houses in Hollywood for my hype.
Wow. It's honestly not that far from me either. But my number 7 now is not that. But it is in fact, and this was heavily influenced by, once again, everything. It just that everything that we're gonna say is. I don't even need to keep repeating that. But this one especially, because that is Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. The only reason it's here, even though what Jess says, what you said, Jess, like really intrigued me about this house. Like, oh, okay, if the story's told somewhat better, this might rise like in actual rankings. But from everything that I've heard from people, non-spoilery, of course, I'm just not really excited for this at all. I'm excited to go in the soundstage, but yeah, it's here for a reason, and I hope that what people are saying doesn't affect me, and that I go there and just I like it. I really want to.
I didn't say that they told the story better.
Well,
I
they had a
said that
specific element.
there was
Yeah.
one scene that looked at least clearer.
So is that like a part of the story that's kind of better, or not really? Like it's just the scene.
Uh, I we'll find out in a week.
That's true. We will find out in a week.
We'll find out within the next week, and our listeners will find out within 2 weeks. So I'm gonna leave that up to mystery, and I'm gonna go on to my number 7, which I feel like it. I might be wrong here, but my number 7 is Dead Exposure,
Okay.
and I worry about John Murdy taking an Orlando original idea and saying, well, all we did was really take the name and zombie. And I don't know. And I just really didn't even like the Dead Exposure Patient Zero that we had. So it was all right. It was scary, but it just wasn't anything special for me. So for Hollywood to take it, this was going to be very low on my hype list regardless.
That's fair. I'm not
Completely
expecting
get it.
this to be Dead Exposure. Like
Oh,
I'm expecting
God,
to be an
no.
original that for some reason is called Dead Exposure.
Yeah, and that's why it's so low for me. And I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
Mhm.
Well, my number 7 would have been here regardless of the opinions I've already heard. It's Ghostbusters. Uh, I mean, in Orlando, it's doing phenomenally well for me, and it's only actually at number 7. And do I think it's going to reach those heights there? Probably not. So, hey, you beat out Insidious and Terror Tram. Good job.
Look at that, Ghostbusters. And my number 6 is something Duff already talked about, and that is Insidious. And the reason it's so high here is I don't know. I don't know. I mean, everything, I guess, just looking at the list, it's just sort of above everything else. And it's also the fact that I really want those Insidious scares from Orlando. I'm not getting them in Orlando. So I'm like, Hollywood is going to be maybe the only place I get those scares, because I'm sure Hollywood scares usually always work for me. They always scare the shit out of me if they are like actually they have good boo holes and they're actually going out and scaring. I usually like get wrecked every single time. I'm pretty sure this is the same tent that Unmasked was in. I think it is. And that's where I also got wrecked. So I want a house where I'm just terrified the whole way and just scream the whole time. And I think this will be that type of house. I don't think the sets will be very good. I don't think that the storytelling or anything will be very good, but I think I'll scream a lot. And I think that's why it's at 6.
Good reason.
Like Unmasked. It's just like nothing's very good, but it's scary.
Jonathan and I were up against a wall.
We
in
were.
Unmasked.
It was traumatizing.
That is like there are only a few things I'm mad that we lost in the California footage last year, and that is like one of them specifically.
Yeah.
Oh, we would have got great content.
The footage of Jonathan and I hugging a wall together, going, "No, no,
Go away, hide. Please stop.
leave us alone."
Hide and seek.
Oh my god. Well, my number 6 is a house that I do not think is going to have me up against a wall, but I'm having so much fun in Orlando that I had to put Ghostbusters here. So I'm kind of, I don't know if what you guys heard makes me nervous or excited. But I have it at number 6, so I can't wait to see what their little mini Stay Puffs look like in the house. That's really what I'm excited for.
Apparently better.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know
Really?
that.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't? Oh.
What?
I
Do
won't
they
say
have a
anything
little
else. I won't say anything else.
Wait. Can I just ask a very specific question?
Sure.
Okay. Have you seen our little stripper Stay Puffed?
Yes.
Okay. Do they have a stripper Stay
I don't
Puft?
know. I'm not sure. I
These are
just
the important
know
questions.
an aspect about them. I have not
Okay.
seen them myself.
Do they wait, they okay.
I'm not answering any questions. We're
Can I
moving
make
on.
it can I make a guess?
No.
Why not?
My number 6.
Damn.
For the same exact reason, Jonathan had it pretty low. Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. As excited as I am to walk into Soundstage 12, historic soundstage where several of these Universal Monsters films were filmed, and some just of my all-time favorite movies, period. I've heard terrible things about the house, like real bad. So it's only still number 6 because it's a property that I really want to like. Um, and the soundstage. That's really about it. I'm more excited to walk into the soundstage than walk into this house after I've heard the reviews.
Yep, same thought process. Doesn't help that Hollywood has like failed us on multiple monster houses now.
In a row, yeah.
Yeah. But number 5 is actually A Quiet Place. And I think that's solely because I think like you were hinting, Jess, I haven't really seen much from this house and I'm trying not to. I just think the puppets are going to be better, or at least a good chunk of them, just based on what Chucky was able to do. And I mean, we've already we've seen the other puppets from Monstros too, the original one, the La Lechuza and stuff like that. They have really good animatronics, really good puppets. And I feel like this will elevate A Quiet Place. And I don't know if I'll like it better than Orlando's, but if those Death Angels are looking great, I'm probably going to walk through and go, hey, that's cool. And so I think that's why it's number 5 for me.
Hey, great reasoning. I'm down
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my number 5 is Eternal Bloodlines for a lot of the same reasons you were saying, Duff. It's the soundstage. The history in the soundstage is really important, and I'm excited to kind of see that. And they have a second soundstage house, again this year. So, but also the scene that I saw that I'm not saying anything else on, but that I think had it a little higher for me than where it is in Orlando right now, where it's sitting at I think 8. I said, but yeah, we'll see. It's probably not gonna stay here. I'm trying to be so positive. Maybe the slash score. I don't know. I don't even know if that's gonna feel right in the house.
Hey, it's a slash score.
Yeah. We'll see.
My number 5 is actually kind of surprisingly probably going to be Monstros Dos.
Oh.
Mainly because how much Monstros can I put up with in such a short period of time? Like, I want it to be great. I want to knock it out of the park. It's kind of, I mean, I like Monstros, the original, in Hollywood a lot. But man, it's just a lot of Monstros to eat. And it feels, I don't want to say lazy, so think of another word to replace that if you'd like. But back to back Monstros, like you're doing Monstros 2, the year after you did Monstros, it's still La Muerte, and you just kind of wrapped them with new monsters. Same location. I'm just worried it's going to be more of the same new characters. It just feels like an easy way to put out a new house. So I'm worried. I think there's a good chance it definitely finishes higher than this, but I'm concerned going into the event.
Well, it's funny that you say that because Monstros Dos is my number 4. And I do think that at this point, I'm actually getting really hyped. Like after 5, it's like, all right, these are like, I'm actually really excited to see these, mostly because they're all Hollywood exclusive stuff, and that's just I'm gonna be more excited for Hollywood exclusive stuff no matter what it is. But the reason this is the lowest of the four exclusives, besides Blood and Tram, of course, is like you said. I feel like it's going to feel very similar. We've already heard things. Obviously, we talked about Murdy tweets about ways they're gonna, divide the monsters and certain things that are gonna happen that were like, oh, this is very similar to the first one. Um, so like it's I'm not super excited. I do think it will probably end up being a good house. I will say, have you guys listened to the podcast on it?
I did. Yes.
That helped.
No, I did not.
You
Oops.
should, because I thought it was really well done. I thought it would told the story actually kind of better than ours did for our
Okay.
Monstros. I just like the formatting better. It just felt more like, I don't know, like I felt more into it. And it helped teach me who these Monstros really were, and that helped a lot, and that got my hype going. So it's at 4. I still think it will be actually a pretty good house for Hollywood, and might be in the top 3 or even 2. But just because we saw Monstros before, it's gonna be the lower end of the exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Well, my number 4, I don't know if you guys are going to be surprised that it's this high or mad that it's this low, but it's Texas Chainsaw, whatever.
I thought you were gonna say
LOL.
something else, actually. So
Really? Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, it's TCM LOL because that's what I have it written down as because that's all I can think of when I think about it. And I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody is going to be mad that it's so low or surprised that it's so high. But Leatherface and I have never really been friends, so I was never going to be super hyped for this. But I think 4 is a good place for it for someone who's not really high on Leatherface, like you, Jonathan.
Oh yeah.
So it's gonna wreck my shit. I know it is because there's like Leatherface is always gonna scare me, and then also like a slaughterhouse setting for like a generic style haunt has always been something that really has scared me in the past as well. Like when Hollow Scream or something has done it. So mixing those together, I'm gonna be terrified, and we're probably gonna have a great video about it.
I sure
So
hope so.
check out our YouTube channel in the next couple weeks to watch me get my shit rocked by Leatherface. But yeah, so I think 4 is a good place for it, and I know it's going to be stinky. So
Mm.
I'm preparing myself.
It
Well,
smells gonna be bad. If we thought that the smell in Holidays in Hell was bad, it's gonna probably be worse.
Oh my
yeah, but
god.
it's like an actual bad smell. Not like food smells are worse than like actual bad smells, you know?
That's true.
Anyways, my number 4 is A Quiet Place, and that is fully because of what I've heard about it. Otherwise, it would be probably dead last for me. But I've heard great things. That's all I got for you. I don't have much to add. That's the only reason it's up here.
That's a great reason. That's why some things are lower on my list. Heard bad things, heard great things. That's basically all we can work off of right now, not being there. But my number 3 is Dead Exposure, Death Valley, or as I like to call it, Death Valley. It's probably not Dead Exposure at all. I think this one's gonna be fun. I'm excited for it. I am worried about some of the things I've heard about it. About sets and stuff, but I just think it's probably gonna be a really fun time. Out of all the originals, Murdy talked about this one the most and gave the most info on it. His research process and everything like that. And when he does that for some houses, when he really gives all that info, it's usually because he's really passionate about it and really wants everyone to know how passionate he is about it. And that usually means, not every time, but that the house will be decent to good or to really good. So I think all that is pushing it to number 3 on my hype list.
That's a good point that I did not consider.
That
But
when
Makes
he
sense.
talks about it a lot, it's usually
yeah.
better.
Yeah, that he did a lot of research for it and all of that. So what did
Oh,
what?
go ahead.
Oh, was this the one that went back to Alice in Wonderland? I can't remember.
No, it was The Weekend.
Oh, that was the weekend. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. What were you going to say, Doc?
I can actually cut the order here because I can piggyback, and my number 3 is also Dead Exposure.
Ooh.
A little surprising, as I've kind of not been super high on it. mainly because it's using the Dead Exposure name, and that worries me, and it's not Dead Exposure. But I always try to. I mean, I'm going to naturally be more excited about originals. And while I have specific concerns about Monstrous Dos, specifically its usage, because we've seen it used in likely a very similar way just last year, a completely fresh original, it's bound to make my top three. I do think there's some pretty cool aesthetics that could be in here. I also haven't heard too much about this house, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but no one said anything to bring it down for me. So yeah, I'm hoping it at least is not bad and doesn't make me hate Murdy for using the Dead Exposure name.
You just got to pretend it isn't that exposure. You just have to forget that that's what it's called.
Death Valley.
Exactly. That's all. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's kind of sad that your final sentence about your number 3 houses. I hope John Murdy doesn't like disappoint me.
Hey, it's all about hype.
Hey,
I didn't say it's gonna finish 3.
Oh, I figured. I'm just. We'll see. My number 3. It's funny that you brought up Monstrous because that is my number 3, Monstrous Dos. And I don't know what it is, but I don't get that like monstrous fatigue that you guys get, and I totally see why it's a lot for you guys. But for me, it's just that vibe will always kind of have a place at the event in one way or another. Whether it is like a monstrous, Monsters of Latin America house, or just in their little plaza where they always have kind of that vibe going on. But a house doesn't bother me. I like new monsters going into this. I'm curious to see how it actually goes up against our house this time, since they're actually, on each coast this year. So that's kind of why it's number 3 for me. So I'm very excited. And I know that the puppets are going to wreck me, just like last year. So
They probably are. I'm sure.
Probably, Jonathan, come on.
Yeah, they are. They are. But I guess it's the orders now on me for number 2. And I'm going to be honest, 1 and 2 are the reason I myself, none of you guys are, but I'm doing Hollywood twice, doing 2 days of Hollywood, because this is a year in Hollywood that it has 2 of my favorite houses that I've experienced in Orlando in not like obviously repeats or anything, but just the properties in the same year. I had to do 2 days just because of these 2 houses. Let's see if I, made a bad choice or not. We'll find out. But this is what I decided to do. So my number 2, which could be a coin flip, honestly, they're so close, is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Or Legacy of Leatherface. I do think actually in rankings it will end up at 1, but the reason it's at 2 on hype is because I know so much about it. The panel told us so much about it. Almost every single scene and every single character you're going to see. But it looks so good regardless. It looks like the concept itself looks like an original IP that looks scary and intense, and everything I want out of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. It looks so good. It's going to be it too. I'm really hard to say words because I'm just really, really excited for this house. And I think it's probably going to be the scariest of the event. And yeah, it's number 2.
Well, Jonathan, I think we have the same exact top 3 because piggybacking again, my number 2 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre for basically everything you said, except one huge difference. I wouldn't expect to put Texas Chainsaw Massacre this high.
Yeah.
Like, normally, if you told me Texas Chainsaw Massacre is coming back to the event again, I'm like, yeah, that's the bottom 3 in my hype list for sure. No, I mean, it's one of those things, Murdy's excited. We've seen a lot of it. It looks like the setting's going to be a ton of fun. I like the original take. I like the integration of the characters they're bringing in. Obviously, that all has to come together in the house. We'll see if that works. But it has a lot going on for it. So, yeah, it's surprisingly at number 2.
That's huge for you. That's huge.
Yeah. I mean, and this isn't like just Hollywood. If you would have done this in Orlando too, I'd have been like, yeah, there's no way Texas Chainsaw is going to be high. But here we are. Congratulations, John Murdy. You influenced me heavily on this one.
That was essentially the whole panel. It was the Leatherface Texas Chainsaw
It wasn't
Massacre
an HHN panel. It was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre panel. That's all.
Exactly.
I think what I'm about to say is going to shock you guys.
I think I know what that means.
It is, and I'm almost nervous to say it. It makes me anxious because I can't believe I'm about to say this. My number 2 is Insidious.
Oh my god, I know what that means.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even really. Can I just not talk about Insidious? Can I just say why my number 1 is my number?
Go for it. Go for it.
That means my number 1 is The Weeknd.
What the fuck? How?
I was not expecting that.
I need 10 minutes of your time.
I'm really excited for this house.
Really excited.
Yeah, I've seen like a little bit, like I've seen like a clip on TikTok here and there, but I've had a character arc, a change of heart, whatever we want to call it. The ice around my heart melted. I don't know, maybe Brandon did something to me, but in the last like 6 months, secretly, I've started listening to The Weeknd again.
Whoa.
Not like really heavily like you guys, but I can actually like I can handle it and it's enjoyable again for me. And Eugene has been keeping this secret as well for me, so thank you. But yeah, I've just had a change of heart. I think that going away from it for a while after so much oversaturation for me made me appreciate it again. And I think that Murdy really enjoyed working with him the last time, and I liked their house almost as much as ours, I think, which is kind of crazy. But now that like I can actually palette it again, I'm really excited. So yeah,
I love that.
and it's something new, like a new album that I just think that's really exciting.
Yeah, it seems like the whole thing's gonna be new. I don't think there's any repeated anything from what what people have been saying, which is great.
Yeah.
So does that mean the bit is fully dead?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the house sucks.
I mean, it's
Possible.
We are gonna have to like fast forward a couple weeks and see what we all think about it. But again, I'm not gonna claim I'm like a Weeknd super fan like you guys, but I'm really excited for this house, like genuinely, and I can't play the bit anymore.
Well, I mean, I guess we can all just have a discussion about this because
Yeah.
anyone who's paying attention, it's number 1 for all of us. Which, what the fuck? How'd that happen?
I have no fucking idea.
Like,
someone tell Mike.
I'm surprised it ended up at number 1 for me, even a bit. Just a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not for Jonathan at all, but you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was keeping that secret.
Wow.
You kept it really well. I had no idea.
Well, it also, I'm not gonna lie, not having Express and barely seeing you guys also helped that little reveal right there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Thanks, Universal.
You're probably in queue, like humming The Weeknd.
Oh no, literally, like it has played, and people have been like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Nothing, I'm good."
But yeah. So I'm very excited about it, obviously, because I enjoy the property it is based off of. Again, it does sound like it's something completely new, so concerns about it being too similar to the previous one shouldn't be a concern at all. I did have the facade spoiled, which I'm not happy about, but damn, that looks good.
Oh no,
I love it. I think it looks great. If I would have walked into the soundstage and saw that, it would have been phenomenal. But whatever. Yeah. Sometimes you get moments stolen from you. I'll never forgive you, person I don't remember who spoiled it. Yeah, and I think again, like you're tying in a new album that doesn't actually exist yet. No, like that's fun. So it just has so much going for it to make it like it has to be number 1 on my hype list. Like it has to be. Of course, I'm more excited to see this than the others.
I mean, yeah. This looks absolutely phenomenal. I also had the facade spoiled. I haven't like stared at it, but I know what it is. Which is unfortunate, but like you said, holy shit. Like, whoa. Like if there were any like doubts, like seeing that like washed them all away. I'm like, oh my fucking god, this is perfect. I'm really excited for this. I really think with the inclusion of Dawn FM and the other and the Hurry Up Tomorrow album, which now is officially named, so they don't have to just say a new original story or whatever. the inclusion of those is going to make for a really fun house. I always thought Dawn FM in particular could work so well for a haunted house and leads to a lot of crazy things. You can really get original with it. And from what everyone has been saying, this house is fucking weird. I don't know what that means, but that's all they're saying, that it's weird. And that's exactly what I want this type of house to be, especially when you're diving into, purgatory and themes like that, and afterlife and stuff the albums cover. So I'm really excited. I'm really hoping that some of the mistakes from the first house they have really, looked at and fixed it for this one too. And it probably helps that for this one in particular, they don't have to work with another coast. They're just completely on their own, do it the Hollywood way, 100%. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be really fun and cool and unique, and possibly one of the most unique houses this year. So yeah.
I'm still in shock that literally was all of our number ones.
Yeah.
I
Mike,
kept a secret.
just pick it. I know you didn't actually make a hype list, but just pick it.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for HHN Hollywood, our ranking of the shows, the zones, the houses. But we are not done yet because, of course, we're still going to rank Knotts. Of course, Scary Farm, very different. They do not actually rotate everything out every year, so we do not need to rank the zones, for one. Same stuff. The shows, no thank you, we're good. But we will rank the mazes. And, of course, some of these will be the same. However, I don't know about you guys, but I do have some pretty big differences between the hype and what I've actually ranked these houses in the past. And I have reasons for that, which we'll go over. So I think that does make it a bit more interesting than we'd imagine for only having 2 new mazes.
Ooh.
Same.
We probably all have the same number 10, I assume.
Yeah.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah, Bloodline 1842. Yeah.
Take it out back. Shoot it right between the eyes.
Yeah.
Last
please.
year.
With its gun from the first year.
The best news ever was expecting Origins to get the announcement for the X this year, and it being Bloodline instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
100%.
come on. That's such a win.
Huge win.
It was easily the worst maze at Scary Farm for me. Origins is a phenomenal maze that I could put up with for another few years easily. It probably only gets another 1 out of it, but still, whatever. I'll take it. So yeah, number 10, not even close. It's a pretty big gap.
Yeah. I didn't even like it the first year with the guns. I whatever.
Oh no, I don't know which version I liked less, but they were both bad for their own reasons.
Yeah, and it just sucks because I think that like a steampunk house, if done well, would be great. I would love to see one.
Mm-hmm.
This is not it.
I think we're also just not in a very steampunk era as a society. Like that ended like
15 years ago.
A while, like 10, like
Yeah.
at least 10
Mhm.
years ago now. It'll come back eventually. This was not its time.
No.
It was not.
But I guess I'll get us. Oh, do you want to talk about it? At
No,
all, John?
no, it's
Okay, I
Bloodline.
didn't.
Take it out back and shoot
kill
it.
It's done. Let it
All
go.
right. Well, it's buried. Let's leave it alone now.
Come on.
I'll move on to my number 9 then, and I'm going to go with Mesmer, a maze that I know a lot of people have affinity for. It's just never clicked for me, and I think last year, by changing the opening scene, they even took some good away from it. So yeah, Mesmer, number 9. It should only have about another year left too, and that kind of excites me.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback because it's also my number 9, and for same reasons. Last year was abysmal. I did not like any run through that. I think we only did it twice last year, and that
I think
was it.
so.
We did it one time each night, and oh my god, taking away that first scene took away the context of the whole maze.
Yeah, its location in the park also doesn't help for that, but
Yeah.
it definitely was not worth running back.
No, and then like poor Carnival too, because then I don't really have a reason to be back there because the house isn't worth it.
No, it's not.
So
No. I like Carnival a lot,
Yeah.
but yeah. But funny because number 9 is also Mesmer for me. Same reasons all of you guys said. I don't need to say anymore. It's Mesmer.
Well, let's
Yeah.
see if Hive Mind continues. Because my number 8 is actually, the past 2 years, I've had it much higher. And now I think I just realize it is what it is. And that's Grimoire. Oh, no. No
No.
way.
Oh my god!
I swear, yeah,
No
it's my
way.
number 8. I
Same.
swear. I've never been hot on this house though, and I feel like my last 2 years I've been very vocal about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
The black and white makeup never works.
I was very excited going into its first year. It sounded like a cool
Yep.
concept. And then we were like, okay, didn't work great. But going into the 50th, they say the Grimoire is going to tie in more. It's going to jump. It didn't jump again.
It
So
tied in
now,
less.
fool me can't get fooled again.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. It's Grimoire. I don't know. Like you guys
Jonathan
said
gets
everything.
nothing to say. I swear to God. Wait, someone else go first for 7.
I will say I highly doubt we have the same number 7. I think
You
this is
sure?
where I have a weird pick. A very weird pick.
What is it? If it's a weird
Origins.
No.
pick. Oh no.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't think so. So the only reason for this, I love Origins. I think it's a phenomenal maze. I've seen it for this will be like my 6th year, right? Like something like that. So
Mhm.
it's just one of those things. Like I know what it is. I'm of course excited to see it. I'm more excited to see the things above it for various reasons, including obviously 2 of them being new. So yeah, it's gonna finish top 4 easily, but I've seen it so many times. It's like, okay, the hype's not there to see it, but I know it's going to be great.
And that's a fair reasoning.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And so I could break our streak. There you go.
I love it. There we go.
I wonder if you and I have the same number 7, Jonathan.
We might. I'm not sure. I
So
honestly, I think it's possible.
I gotta ask then, did you guys rank this more like what you basically anticipate your rankings being?
Kind of.
I'm
No.
gonna be honest. I took the rankings I did for the Knotts episode. I copied, pasted it, and then put where I wanted to put the new 2 ones.
Oh,
The 2 new
no.
ones.
Okay.
Oh, see, I don't have that. I don't have my rankings from last year. So
So there we go. See, yeah, so makes it interesting because honestly, I'm gonna be excited for them in the way I rank them. Besides one exception, and the 2 new ones, it's just sort of my memories from last year are so ingrained in my head. It's just that's how the hype's gonna be. But my number 7 is Room 13.
Oh no. Okay.
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 I honestly do think runs in this house hopefully will be better this year, especially because we're going now a little bit later into the event, and not opening weekend. Because that second night, Room 13 improved drastically
Oh, it was huge. Huge
from
difference.
opening. So going in the middle of the event is probably going to help a lot too. And if I can get those runs that I did that second day, then this actually probably will go actually higher up in the rankings itself. But right now, I just think the concept itself, it's good. It's fine. What really saves this house is the scares. And if I can get those, then it will go up and we'll go higher.
Yeah. No, my number 7, and I'm kind of surprised you guys have it higher than I do, is the Chilling Chambers. And because
No,
I thought I liked it more last year than you guys did.
It's actually quite
Um,
higher for me.
I mean, I had it decently high last year, to be fair.
That's fair. I don't remember where I had it last year. Like I would have to go back and listen. That's how bad I am at keeping all these lists. But I feel like my 7 up is not bad because I loved this house or maze. I will never say maze. It's so hard for me. I loved this last year. I thought it was a great compilation for someone who did not see any of those mazes. So I'm really excited to see it again. I did see something that was taken out.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
In the
I
facade.
think
No,
Oh, no,
more than
okay.
just that.
different.
no.
Oh,
Never mind. That's all
I'm
I
not
saw.
again.
That's all I saw.
I'm yeah, no. But that's why I think this is so low compared to you guys. Something that it really is important to me
Oh,
was not in the house. The
okay.
maze.
yeah.
Interesting.
I know
So,
what you're
yeah.
talking about. I know
Okay.
exactly what you're talking
I
about.
That's why it's lower for me. We're gonna keep it. You'll see it in a couple days, stuff.
I will
Mhm.
A week
say
from today.
I have been very good at avoiding Scary Farm spoilers. Luckily, like the thing I just mentioned from Chilling Chambers is like the only thing I've seen outside of like the quickest glimpse of the
What thing
facade
in
of
the
Widows.
facade? Did you? I don't know what you're talking
Well,
about.
I'm not
Mr.
going to
Todd.
say it just in case.
No, I'm just like, wow, what?
It's nothing big, but
Yeah.
but I can piggyback off you because my number 6 is Chilling Chambers. I think that we're getting into a point of this list where it's like, okay, a lot of these 3 of them will be on their second year, and I'm looking forward to see how they can enhance them from there. I feel like out of those, Chilling Chambers has the least chance of getting better. Unless they fully went in and like changed some scenes and provide us some breath fresh of air, maybe. But that feels like something like a couple years down the line instead of the next year. So, being a 50th anniversary house, it's the 51st year now. It just feels like it's probably going to be Chilling Chambers again, which isn't a bad thing, but less excited to see it compared to the others for that reason.
My number 6 is actually I'm debating switching these, but I don't think I am. I think my number 6 is going to be Origins. I still really love this house. It's a house I've experienced, and it's just the order that it is. I don't know. It's not like I don't have any negative things to say of why it's there at 6. It's just I'm more excited for the things above it. I guess I've just seen it more times, so I think that's probably a reason why. But yeah, Origins at 6.
That's also my number 6 for pretty
Oh,
much
Oh my.
what you said. I've seen it a couple times. This will be my 3rd year seeing it. Not as much as, you guys, but it's a really good maze. I would not be mad if it stayed. I would not be mad if it went. I love that there's something there that is the pretty much just ghost town the maze.
Mhm.
mm-hmm.
And
Done
that's
really
always
well.
going to fit. Yeah, it's always going to fit. It's got a lot of history in it, which we got to see on the behind the fog tour that we got to take that one
It
year.
doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, like we learned a lot of really cool things. How there's like original mask molds in there that are used on some of the creatures and stuff from original Ghost Town 51 years ago. Like it's a really cool maze, but I can kind of take it or leave it. But like I said, 7 and up are not bad at all. They would beat a lot of the houses at Orlando this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys weren't even far off. I thought you'd be a little bit higher with Origins, so we were
No.
one spot off.
Nothing too crazy.
No. The hive mind is still here.
Still here.
Who's going for number 5? Is it my turn?
I
Sure.
think so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We'll do it.
So sticking with saw it last year. Can't wait to see how it improves. Room 13. And the main reason it's above Chilling Chambers is you already mentioned it, Jonathan. The jump from night 1 to night 2 was so drastic. What's the jump going to look like to season 2 now? So I'm excited to see. I'm sure they've definitely filled into those roles a bit better. Things have been fleshed out. It felt like a house that it was not incomplete, but it just wasn't firing on all cylinders, but had a lot of potential. So I'm excited to see that potential get closer to being reached at least.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of you because that is also my number 5 for the same reasons. Night 1 did not love this maze. Night 2 really enjoyed some of it. So I'm excited to see kind of if they've plussed it or just kind of learned from last year and what worked better. And I hope that some of the makeup is a little better. I think it will be. But very excited to see it again.
And my number 5 is the Chilling Chambers. I really liked this one last year. I thought it was really fun, and I'm just excited to see it again. The changes that some of us have seen kind of worry me a little bit, but I'm excited to see it. I like the scenes they featured. I thought it was a really fun maze with some of the rooms, and I'm just gonna be more excited usually for things that are newer than things that I've seen before a lot of times. So that's probably why it's 5.
And that's really just kind of how my list is in general. Sums it up well, because this is going to sound blasphemous. But at number 4, I have Cinema Slasher.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It's my favorite scary farmhouse of all time, I think, currently. But I know what to expect. It could get better. I'm very excited to see it. But, there's other stuff I'm more excited to see. This will probably finish number 1. But it's not number 1 on my hype list. I'm sorry.
um, I,
I'm
wow.
do you have this at 4, Jess?
No. I have a thought, but I'll hold it.
Oh, okay, because I mean, you
Go
could
for
share
it.
if it's
No,
for Cinema
go for
Slasher.
it.
You can say it after I say it, because Cinema Slasher is my 4 too.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I just wanted to piggyback here. Yeah, for the same reasons you said. It's a very, very, very good house. Um, I'm actually shocked because that means another thing above here is not new for you, Duff. Um, which is interesting. But yeah, it's a very good maze. I'm just more excited for the new things plus something else that's very special to me up in the top 3 here. So yeah.
No, my thought was it was really hard for me to place cinema. But it's not my number 4. Waxworks is actually my number 4.
Ooh.
And again, nothing derogatory to Waxworks at all. I fucking love this maze. I'm really sad it's going, but also it's time. I'm excited to see what replaces it, but also see what they've kind of changed in Plus this year. Because even the little changes they made last year, I really loved. Like the changes in the actual like wax museum portion of it. So I'm very excited to see it. But that's why it's 4. There are other things that I had to put above it
Makes sense.
that were hard to place.
Yep. Well, my number 3 and the last of my returning mazes is Waxworks. And while I don't necessarily like it better than Cinema Slasher, and I've seen it more times, obviously, it's my goodbye to it. So it is one of my favorite mazes at Scary Farm that I've experienced. It's gonna be sad to see it go. So yeah, seeing it one last time is a bittersweet thing. So I had to put this pretty high, just not higher than the new mazes.
Well, speaking of the new mazes, number 3, I wasn't actually expecting this making the hype list, but I'm like, no, it has to be done. It's actually a new maze this year. And it's it's called 8 Fingers 9. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got it right. Yeah, it looks really cool. The concept looks really cool, and I'm very excited for it. And I'm sure it's gonna blow me away. Um, and the only reason it's not at 2 is because of another house that I have more of an emotional connection to. Is there? But yeah, I'm still really excited for this. I think it's gonna be really cool and a great maze. It's just for other reasons that I'll get to when we get to the top 2 that it's at 3 and not higher.
So my number 3 is also a new maze, but it is Widows.
Ooh.
And it's just, for me, the setting of like a retirement home is kind of the reason it's not any higher than 3. I'm still going to be very excited for it because it's new. But that kind of setting does not excite me. I think it's going to be interesting. I kind of hope they go the more like disturbing route of that and not like the kind of funny route. But this is the one I've seen the least spoilers of, which I'm very grateful for. But that also, I guess, is why it's 3 for me.
Well, I can piggyback right into this because my number 2 is Widows. And the reason it is lower of the new mazes for me, I'm just really not into the whole like spiders thing. Not in like a, oh no, I can't do it because the spiders. I just don't like that type of horror. It just doesn't do it for me. Like Bugs Eaten Alive, I like the direction they took because it was super campy and super like characterized version of like that 50s horror, right? And but this is a much more serious take. And I honestly think the setting is probably what I'm more excited about. This seems like it could be scary as fuck, but the story and what it's based around is what's not fully doing it for me. I do expect it to be great. I really haven't heard anything in particular. I have heard a few reviews, and people are loving Widows. So, but it's only number 2 on my hype list.
Well, number 2 on my hype list is the last returning maze, and that is of course Waxworks. This is my favorite Knott's maze that I have experienced since I started going. I love it. I think the attention to detail is so top notch. There's so many cool effects and sets and scares and immersiveness. And it's one of those few houses that I've experienced that I walk in and go, just shiver, like how like scary this concept is and how well they pull it off. I love this dearly. And the fact that it's going away is very, very sad, but I'm happy to have one more year with it. And to be, have all the, the express or whatever to hit this as many times as I can to, to say goodbye to it. It's had a really great run. I'm happy they're not letting it run long enough to the point where it starts to really like not work. And so, yeah, I'm excited and very sad to say goodbye to Waxworks this year.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Something
It
good's
had a
gonna
good
replace
life.
it. Yeah, it had a great life. Something that will not be going away after this year, though, is my number 2, and that's Cinema Slasher.
There it is.
It was okay, I'm not gonna lie. I did have this at one point. Because like you said, Duff, I know it's gonna be my number 1. No matter what happens, this beat Dark Ride for me. Like, I am on the record last year. You both heard me. I said halfway through this maze, I think this is better than Dark Ride, and then it was confirmed. So I'm very excited to go back through this, and even if they've changed not a damn thing, it's gonna be my number 1. I know it is.
Understandable. Very
Yeah.
understandable.
Yeah, for
But
hype.
my number 1, obviously, I'm sticking with a new maze, and that's going to be Eight Fingers 9. The main reason it is as a story, they base plot, what they're going for, clicks a lot more for me than Widows. Do I necessarily think I'm going to enjoy one more than the other? No. This is basing it purely off the announcements we've had and nothing else at this point. But yeah, I'm always going to pick the new mazes first. And while neither of them are fully exciting for me, I'm sure we're going to get at least one of these being a great maze. And I just lean towards the one that works a little bit better on my end.
Yeah, let me piggyback off of you because this is also my number 1 for very similar reasons. I just the spider thing also doesn't get me. It's the setting on the spider thing. This is like, ooh, the boogeyman, and it's got like a period piece. I think that's really fun. And Knott's does that like time travel element really well. Like, look at Origins now that we're getting like a colonial setting. So I think that is the reason it's my number 1. But I don't think it's gonna end up being my number 1 after. But this is hype. So I was able to put it at number 1 with that in mind.
Makes sense. I'm the odd one out here with Widows at number 1. I think I even like reacted to that like when we were watching the Knott's little announcement they had the announcement day when I was like, "Ooh, Widows," and you guys were like, "Eight Fingers 9." And I'm like, "Oh, Widow," like, "Oh, I am the odd one out here." But this concept looks really, really scary. It looks like it's gonna be intense. I really like the idea of the possessed sort of retirement home people and stuff, and by possessed by spiders or whatever. Like, that's so unique, that's so cool. I'm excited to see all of the spider scares and stuff they do in this house, and whatever big Knott's props they end up having in here. I think they're going to be really cool. I vibe with this idea, just how you guys vibe with the other one. This is what I vibe with. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and I'm so happy that I'm so happy that we're getting it. We're getting a proper spider house that is trying to be scary, like sort of the opposite of what you were saying, Duff, where I did appreciate that Bugs Eaten Alive was funny, and they took that route. I was really wanting a scary bug maze the way they were hyping it up, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be that. So I'm excited. I'm on Team Widows.
I understand. I get it. I think most people were, to be fair.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it sounds like they still are after going to the event. So you might be the winner here, anyways.
I might. We'll see.
I think we're all the winners because we're going out to California. We're going to all these haunts.
Oh yeah,
I mean, yeah, that is
we
pretty
win.
true.
We're also Jonathan. Are you going out to Dark Harbor as well, or no?
I'm not doing Dark Harbor, no, but
Oh,
that's I sacrificed that for the second day at HHN. That's
fair.
that's
Okay,
my one thing.
valid. Totally valid. We're getting to do so much though. All of us here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Crazy. Wow.
That's it. That's all of our rankings, starting from week 4 HHN 33 through HHN Hollywood through Not Scary Farm. And by the next time we talk to you, we're going to be doing more rankings because we're going to be back from California and seeing how our hype list matched up with the rankings. I know my Knott's one will be very, very, very different. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's how I like it.
Maybe we'll have some newbies on too to give their insight.
That is true. That is true. We do love a guest or two or three,
Yeah.
depending, after our West Coast trips, for sure. So before we close out, any last minute additions, anything anyone wants to talk about? Because I do have one thing to mention.
Oh, what do you have to mention?
Okay, cool. What is today? The 26th? September 24th was HHN 365 5-year anniversary. So happy anniversary to us.
Yes.
We don't talk
Yay.
about milestones like that a lot, but I think 5 years is a fun one. So yeah, we just celebrated 5 years of dropping our very first episode a couple days ago. We don't want to make a big deal out of it, but I did want to mention it because that's 5 years, and I know some of our listeners have been around that long. Jonathan, what's up? Welcome.
Hello.
I was like a couple months in as
Yeah.
a listener.
Yeah, that's true.
Not a day one,
Just
but
behind. Just
behind.
So we'll talk about that in 2 months then. But yeah, so just want to point that out and thank everyone for being along as a part of this ride. It's crazy. This is episode 179, I believe. So
Yeah.
we could have more out, but life. Yeah, 5 years of doing this podcast, 179 episodes. It's crazy. It's crazy. So here's to 5 more years. Wow, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah. That's oof. I remember I joined in like episode 60 something. So this is like 179. That number is crazy in hearing 5 years.
Mhm.
You guys started with one microphone.
One microphone, 2 dudes, one microphone.
Ooh.
And then later we had a producer.
And then I killed him.
And then you killed him.
And then Jonathan just got a spot.
Yeah,
He
he
didn't
didn't
have
have
to
to
do
murder
anything.
anybody.
No murder required.
No.
He was helping us behind the scenes for a long time before he joined.
Oh, yeah.
I was.
Yeah, that was you were vetted after a while.
I was like making the news outlines before I officially made the news outlines.
Literally.
It's true.
Yeah, I remember. No, my favorite. Everyone share your favorite 365 memory. Mine is we were doing trivia when we did it on the show, and there I think the final round you were just in the recording room, and I just went, Duff, what's going on? And Duff was like, oh, he's keeping score, and I was like, cool, welcome, Jonathan. And then I think like maybe a month later you were on the show.
I think so, yeah.
It was so fast, but I just remember that and being like, oh, I'm just grateful for the help. I just didn't know who he was.
Was that like a last minute thing too? I think it was
Yeah.
the day of, like,
Very
like,
last minute.
I think
it's like, hey Jonathan, can you keep score? I'm like, okay.
something head count wise changed pretty last minute. It's like, God, need some help.
Duff had a good idea that he and I, this is back when Mike was like having to take a break for a while. So it was just he and I. We needed help. And that's where you came in. So
Yay.
And
I'm
you've
happy
been
to provide
a great
help.
A great help. Oh man, now we got a favorite HHN 365 memory. I don't know if I have a singular one. That's crazy. Singular.
our trip last year was pretty.
I was gonna pick that.
All 4 of us doing it too. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Getting that opportunity.
So fantastic.
Yeah, I'm
that
gonna go
was
with that. It's also not a single memory, I guess. It's a week, but that's my favorite week. There you go.
It was great.
Oh, I know my favorite memory. The story about a woman being on our
I
lawn
knew you were
and the Airbnb. I will not elaborate further, but that's my favorite 365
You know what?
memory right
Maybe
there.
one day that story will be put behind like a paywall or something. But that woman in the lawn last year on the trip, I've never laughed that hard with you guys in my life.
It was so good.
I've never laughed that hard in my life, I don't think. Oh, wow. We're bonded.
That whole trip was like dealing with, like, there was so many funny incidents. Like the Airbnb we were at, the bathroom, the toilet paper. It was like, do not flush toilet paper down the toilet. It's like, What the fuck else are we supposed to do?
Well, now imagine being the only female with 3 guys who are staring at you like, well, that's inconvenient. And I'm like, imagine being me. Like, it's extra hard.
Sorry, Airbnb host. I believe we did flush our toilet paper.
Yeah, no,
We did.
that's why the woman was looking for the puppy. Trying to see if we had any. Never mind. Okay, we're not telling this story.
There we go. Favorite memory. Got it out.
Wow.
All right. Anyways, thanks for listening to this episode and 5 years of episodes. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. That's at HHN365. Especially do the YouTube because we're gonna get the Hollywood stuff out this time. We're not gonna lose the files. They will not get corrupted.
Knock on
We're gonna
wood,
do
Duff. I
this right.
swear to fucking God.
We're gonna do this right.
Duff.
And then on TikTok at HHN365pod. Join our Discord where you can talk about HHN, Not Scary Farm, Fright Fest if you want for some reason. We're doing that year round, so hop in, chat away. The link will be in the description for you. Check out our merch shop at hhn365.com. And if you want to leave a voicemail to join us here on the show, that's 407-906-4134. And that's all for this week. And next week, actually. So if you're in California, we'll see you in the streets.